Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, no matter what time zone you're tuning in from. Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Welcome back, Sip and Talkers.
I'm Joe. And sitting across from me is a girl who just finished reading a stack of international communiques thick enough to stop a door. And you look a little concerned.
Concerned is. Yeah, that's putting it mildly. I feel less like I'm here for a chat today and more like I'm an archaeologist looking at a map of a future war.
I got the same vibe.
The documents we're getting into today, they aren't just policy papers. It really feels like the tectonic plates of the world are shifting right under our feet.
Exactly. If you've glanced at the news this week, you probably felt it too. That weird sensation that the world is splitting right down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, you have U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Munich Security Conference, practically screaming like a rock star to defend Western civilization.
And on the other side,
you have Beijing, releasing these reports calling the U.S. a hegemonic bully that's addicted to domineering.
It's intense. And you're right, this isn't just politicians in suits shouting at each other.
Oh, yeah.
What we are looking at today is a battle between two completely different life software systems, and both of them are fighting for the right to install their OS on the world's hard drive for the next 50 years.
I love that analogy. It's like iOS versus Android, but with nuclear codes.
Something like that.
So today's topic, the son of Europe versus anti-hegemony. We're going to decode this global clash into plain English. Are you ready to open up the hood of the world order?
Let's do it. Buckle up.
So let's start with Marco Rubio.
Mm.
I read through the transcript of his speech, and, it didn't read like a typical diplomatic address. It felt more like a breakup letter, a very emotional, very high-stakes breakup letter.
That's a great observation. But who is he breaking up with?
Well, not Europe. He's breaking up with the last 30 years of history.
Oh.
He's breaking up with that old international order where we all sit in a circle, hold hands, and share fruit. I mean, he was so sentimental. He brought up the Beatles. He talked about Mozart. He even evoked the Sistine Chapel.
Right, and that's the emotional hook.
Totally. He's calling the bond between the U.S. and Europe a sacred civilizational heritage.
He's telling Europe, hey, we're family. We have the same soul. But, and this is a crucial part, he pivots immediately from Mozart to reindustrialization and border control.
That was such a sharp turn. It was like, I love your symphonies. Now let's go build some ammunition factories.
Exactly. Rubio's central argument is that the West has been suffering from what he calls managed decline.
Managed decline.
Yeah, for decades, the West operated on this idea that if we just opened our markets, played nice, and followed the so-called gentleman's rules, eventually everyone else, specifically China, would become democratic and play by those same rules.
And his verdict is, we were wrong.
We were wrong. He argues that while we were being polite and shipping our factories overseas for cheaper stuff, we hollowed out our own middle class. We let our industrial muscles atrophy. Meanwhile, our competitors used government subsidies and low-cost manufacturing to dominate critical supply chains.
Yeah.
Everything from antibiotics to the chips in your phone.
So his solution is basically hit the gym.
Pretty much.
He's saying that international law, those sternly worded letters from the UN, that stuff doesn't stop aggression. You know what stops aggression? B-2 bombers in domestic factories.
Precisely. He wants to move from soft power back to hard power. He wants to take back the supply chains.
When I was reading this, I got this mental image. It sounds like he wants to turn the West, the U.S. and Europe, into this massive, gated, high-end community.
Go on.
It's like inside these walls, we have Mozart, we have high-tech factories, we have democracy, and at the gate, we've got a massive security system to make sure the outside world doesn't mess with our property values.
That is a scarily accurate metaphor. A gated Western garden. Rubio's message is, we aren't pretending to be inclusive anymore. We are rebuilding our muscles to protect our way of life. And if you're not inside the gate, you're kind of on your own. It's America first, evolving into the West first.
Okay, so that's the view from inside the gated community. Now let's flip the camera. Because Beijing isn't just sitting there quietly. They released this report with a title that does not pull any punches. U.S. Hegemony and its Perils.
Subtlety is not the strategy here.
Not at all. They're accusing the U.S. of being a technological hegemon, of monopoly suppression, resource imperialism. To me, it sounds like they're saying, you're not the police, you're the schoolyard bully.
And this is where we need to turn on our geopolitical translator, because the same action is described in two completely different ways depending on which report you're reading.
It's a war over definition.
Absolutely.
They decode it for us.
When Rubio says, I am protecting freedom, democracy, and our heritage, Beijing hears, you are bullying us because you're terrified we're going to be stronger than you.
It's all about intent.
Right. Take the supply chain issue. When the U.S. talks about securing Western supply chains or passing the CHIPS Act, that's CHIPS, to bring semiconductor manufacturing back home.
Beijing calls that decoupling, right? Or breaking chain.
No, exactly. They also use this vivid phrase, small yard, high fence.
Small yard, high fence.
Okay. They argue that the U.S. is building a high fence around a small yard of critical tech like AI and advanced chips, not for national security, but simply to kneecap China's development. They see it as a Cold War mentality designed to keep them in second place forever.
So Beijing is positioning itself as the champion of the underdog here.
They're positioning themselves as the anti-hegemon. They're telling the rest of the world, the global south, Africa, Latin America, look, the U.S. wants to be the solitary boss. We want a multipolar world, a world where everyone gets a vote, not just the guy with the biggest aircraft carriers.
It's a compelling narrative if you're on the outside of that gated community we talked about.
It is.
But okay, we've got the high-level politics. Rubio wants a fortress. Beijing wants a revolution. But let's bring this down to the ground. For everyone listening right now, on their commute or washing dishes, what does this system war actually look like in daily life?
Let's do a little thought experiment. Let's strip away all the isms and the flags. Let's just imagine you wake up tomorrow and you have to choose which operating system runs your life.
Okay, scenario one. Let's call it the efficiency feature.
Right. You wake up in a city running the China OS.
You know, I've traveled there, and I have to admit, parts of it are incredibly seductive.
How so?
You walk down the street at 2 a.m. and you feel totally safe because there are cameras everywhere. You don't worry about getting robbed. You pull out your phone, open one super app, and you can book a flight, order food, pay your rent, all in like 3 seconds. It is frictionless.
That's the sales pitch, extreme efficiency and safety. But we have to do a reality check. What is the currency you're using to pay for that safety?
My data, my privacy.
It's deeper than that. You are paying with your transparency. In that system, the citizen is fully transparent to the state, but the state is completely opaque to the citizen. And because there's no check on power, no independent courts, no free press, corruption becomes a structural feature, not a bug.
Is it really that bad? I mean, every country has some corruption.
Not like this.
Yeah.
Look at the data. In 2025 alone, just 1 year, China investigated over 1 million corruption cases. They punished nearly 98,000 people.
Wait, 1 million cases in 1 year? That's staggering.
It proves that even in a high-control surveillance state, the rot is everywhere because the only way to get things done is Guanxi connections, backdoors, bribes.
Okay.
And here's the risk for you in this thought experiment. The system is efficient as long as you are compliant. But if you say the wrong thing or criticize the wrong policy, that same super app that buys your lunch can lock you out of your bank account and ban you from taking a train instantly.
That's the Black Mirror terrifying part. You can just be deleted from society.
You can.
Okay, so let's look at scenario 2, the Western OS. This is what Rubio wants to defend.
Here, you wake up and you can go online and write a tweet calling the president an idiot. You can start a business in your garage without asking for a government permit first. You have agency.
But the cost is noise. It's messy.
It's incredibly messy. You want to build a train station. It might take 10 years because of public hearings, environmental reviews, protests.
Right.
You might have strikes shutting down the airport. You have homelessness visible on the streets.
It feels chaotic. It feels like managed decline, to use Rubio's phrase.
And that's what Rubio is trying to fix. He wants to keep the freedom, but inject muscle back into the system. He wants a West that isn't just good at arguing, but good at building things again. He wants the factories and the free speech.
So the choice isn't just safe versus free. It's, do you want to be a well-managed asset in a quiet system or a loud citizen in a messy one?
That is the fundamental question. And these two systems aren't just staying in their own lanes anymore. They are crashing into each other physically.
Where? Where are the collision points?
I see 3 main ones. The first is obvious, Taiwan and the South China Sea.
Right. The physical territory.
It's a clash of rules versus sovereignty. The U.S. says, these are international waters. We have freedom of navigation. Beijing says, this is my front yard. Get out.
It's not a misunderstanding.
No, it's 2 people claiming the same space.
And the second one?
The tech Iron Curtain. Rubio is obsessed with AI and space sovereignty. We are moving toward a world with 2 internets, 2 GPS systems, and 2 AI ecosystems.
This is what worries me, a digital Berlin Wall. Imagine a future where if you cross a border, your phone doesn't work, your apps don't load, and your electric car won't charge because the software standards are incompatible. It's very likely. One AI will be trained on universal values, and the other will be trained on state security. They literally won't think the same way.
And the third collision point.
The swing states, specifically Japan and Europe.
The kingmakers. Exactly. Japan has already made its choice. It's rearming, the biggest defense shift since World War II. They're all in with the U.S. system.
But Europe?
Europe is the girl Rubio is writing that breakup letter to. They are still deciding. Do they decouple from China economically? Or do they try to play both sides? If Europe fully joins the U.S. gated community, China is in trouble.
It really does feel like everything is hanging in the balance. You know, hearing all this, it feels like such a heavy choice. Efficiency and order versus chaos and freedom. Is it always a zero-sum game?
I don't think so. And this brings us to the most important so what of our talk today. I want to offer a different perspective on that Western chaos.
Okay, go on.
We often look at the arguing, the protests, the slow bureaucracy in democracies, and we call it weakness. But in systems theory, that is called error correction.
Error correction.
Yes. Think about those 1 million corruption cases in China. That happens because the system suppresses small problems until they become massive rot. Authoritarian stability is like a pressure cooker. It looks calm until it explodes.
Whereas democracy is a self-cleaning oven.
A very noisy, smoky, self-cleaning oven. The chaos of voting, of a free press, of court cases, that is the sound of the system fixing itself. It prevents managed decline from turning into a sudden catastrophic crash. It allows us to pivot.
That's a really hopeful way to look at it. The noise isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the sound of the safety valve working.
Exactly. So when Rubio says defend Western civilization, he's not just talking about defending Mozart. He's talking about defending the right to be wrong, the right to fix our own mistakes.
I love that. Human rights aren't just a nice slogan for a poster. They are the safety mechanism for the whole society.
That's the takeaway. Don't just look at the GDP numbers or how fast a train gets built. Look at the price tag. Do you want to be an asset to be managed for maximum efficiency? Or do you want to be a citizen with the messy, difficult burden of rights?
We are not chess pieces. We are the players. That is such a powerful place to land.
It is.
This is heavy, but in a good way. It's like we just reorganized the bookshelf in my brain.
That's what we're here for, to make the complex a little less intimidating.
Absolutely. Remember, Sip&Talkers, we are here to give you the objective facts and the international perspectives so you can do your own thinking. We aren't selling you a political party, we're not spreading hate, and we are definitely not giving financial advice.
Although, investing in your own understanding of the world is probably the best return on investment you can get.
Agreed. Knowledge is the only asset that doesn't depreciate. And speaking of messy freedom and people doing whatever they want, if you need a break from geopolitics, you have to subscribe to our show, obviously, but you also need to check out our old friend Mickey.
Oh, right, Mickey. What is he up to now?
I found his secret account. He's doing this crazy yes man project on his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
The movie concept, say yes to everything?
Everything. If someone asks him to do it, he has to say yes.
Oh.
It is the definition of uncertain freedom. It's chaotic, it's hilarious, and I am genuinely worried for his survival. Go check it out and see what happens when you remove all the fences from your life.
Sounds dangerous and entertaining. Go give him a watch.
All right, that's it for us today. Whether you prefer order or chaos, just make sure you're the one making the choice. Stay curious, stay awake.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.
Hold up, we're not done yet. There's some new information that just came in, and we really need to add it to today's conversation.
Yeah. East versus West values and what true intentions.
And it's almost like the universe heard us.
I know, right? We barely finished that conversation. And then Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi holds this Q&A at the Munich Security Conference.
And it's a perfect live case study of everything we were talking about. A masterclass in, let's call it audience segmentation.
That's exactly it. And that's our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're not here to mock or, judge the politics. We just want to present what was actually said.
Because some of the claims are, well, they're pretty wild if you haven't seen the raw text.
Wild is a good word for it. It's the contrast, really. On one hand, he's telling Europe, let's be gentlemen.
And on the other, he's basically telling Japan they're going to self-destruct.
That phrase, self-destruction, definitely got my attention. But okay, let's start with the softer side first. This whole peacemaker narrative on Ukraine.
Right. So the argument is basically that China isn't a party to the conflict. They're just, the responsible adult in the room.
He mentioned President Xi's four shoulds.
He leaned on that heavily, respecting sovereignty, addressing security concerns. It all sounds great on paper.
But the subtext is pretty clear. China is the promoter of peace, which implies everyone else is,
But the part that really jumped out at me, and I think will surprise a lot of you listening, was how he framed Donald Trump.
Oh, this was fascinating. You'd think the architect of the trade war would be enemy number one.
But he flipped that completely. He said they were gratified because Trump, he claims, actually respects Xi Jinping and the Chinese people.
So the tariffs, the trade war, that's not the real America in this story.
Precisely. Wang Yi argues the tension isn't about Trump's policy. He blames, and this is the key phrase, irrational forces inside the U.S.
That is such a clever wedge to drive. It frames the whole conflict as an internal American pathology, not a geopolitical clash.
It's not the president, it's just some irrational ghosts in the machine, and that lets him pivot to Europe with a totally different tone.
Right. He flat out rejected that systemic rival label the EU uses.
He did. He went full philosopher on them.
That's when he quoted Confucius, isn't it? Gentlemen seek harmony, but not uniformity.
It's a brilliant move. He's saying, look, our systems are different, but we can still make money together. He used the trade volume as proof.
The logic being, how can we be rivals with all this trade? He's trying to get them to separate economic interests from, political values.
So for the West, the message is all about harmony and gentlemen's agreements. But then
we get to Japan. And the gentleman suddenly leaves the room.
The pivot is jarring. The topic was the idea that a Taiwan emergency is a Japan emergency. He did not quote Confucius here.
No, he went straight for the jugular. He compared Japan to Germany.
He did. He praised Germany for atoning for the Nazi era, but then he turns on Japan and points to them still honoring war criminals at Yasukuni Shrine.
It's a heavy historical lever to pull. He's basically saying, Germany did the work, you haven't.
And that's the justification for the threat. He warned that if Japan gambles on Taiwan again,
it will lead to self-destruction. That is not diplomatic language. That's a direct warning.
It just highlights this dual reality. In this narrative, China is the pillar of peace. If there is stability, that's thanks to China.
And if there's self-destruction,
that's entirely the fault of Japanese ambition or American irrationality.
It really clarifies the strategy, doesn't it? Woo the West with economic logic while drawing a hard, militaristic line for your neighbors in Asia.
It's a classic divide-and-conquer narrative.
So, I guess here's the thought I'm left with. If a superpower frames every single conflict as a result of someone else being irrational or ambitious, does that leave any room for real compromise?
That's the real danger, isn't it? If your position is inherently harmonious and the other side is just irrational, then negotiation isn't just hard, it's conceptually impossible. You might just be setting the stage for the very conflict you claim you're trying to prevent.
Something for all of us to think about. Thanks for walking us through the transcript.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, go check the show notes for the full text. The contrast in language is even starker on the page. We'll see you on the next deep dive.